you a wholesome, happy holiday." Far in the distance he could see a solitary female figure, dressed in rainbow colours, standing perfectly still and looking out to sea, as if what it had to offer was somehow more interesting than a dead body. It was as if nobody cared. Inspector Topham got in the car and pulled out onto the empty road. He reached Todhemstead's Spa station in a matter of minutes, but already the Riviera Express was pulling out, heading on towards Exeter at a slow roll, huffing, grinding, thumping, clanging. He could get it stopped at Newton Abbot to check if there was evidence on the front buffers of contact with human flesh from the downward journey, to quiz the train guard and the driver. But they'd all be back again this afternoon on the return trip, and he doubted, given the distance of the body from the railway embankment, that this was a rail fatality. Though with death, you could never be sure about anything. As he drove back to the sands, his eyes lifted for a moment from the road ahead. It was already mid-June, and the lanes running parallel to the beach were bursting with joy at summer's arrival. Though the bluebells and primroses had retreated, the hedgerows were noisy with young blackbirds testing their beautiful voices, while beneath, newly arrived wild roses and cow parsley reached out, begging to be noticed. "How," asked the policeman, "could anyone wish a young girl dead at this season, when hope is in the air and the breeze is scented with promise?" His years in the desert, those arid wastes of death, might be long behind, but still they cast their shadow. He drove down the slipway onto the beach, got slowly out, and nodded to his men. "Body away," said one. "Come on, then." Topham removed his hat and got back in the car. His square head, doughty and in its own way distinguished, grazed the ceiling because of his ramrod straight back. Despite the rising heat, he still wore the raincoat he'd donned in the early morning when he got the call. He'd been too distracted by what he'd seen to take it off. Too honest a man, too upright, perhaps too regimented in his thinking to see life the way criminals do, Frank Topham was both the very best of British policing and, some might argue, the worst. There was a dead woman on the beach, but if it was murder, the culprit might never be caught. No clues, no arrest. No hope of an arrest. The car approached Temple Regis, the prettiest town in the whole of Devon, and as the inspector drove up Cable Street and over Twopenny Row, his eyes took solace in the elegant terrace of Regency cottages, whose pink brickwork blushed in the summer sunshine. Further down the hill he could hear the clanking arrival of the 10:30 from Paddington, its sooty, steamy clouds shooting upwards from Regis Junction station. Life was carrying on as if nothing had happened. Topham entered the police station at his regulation quick march. The front office was empty apart from the desk sergeant. "Frank, Bert. Anything for the book?" The sergeant had his pen poised. Topham hesitated. "Accidental. Woman on Tempsted Beach." The other man gazed shrewdly at him. "You sure? Accidental?" Topham returned his gaze evenly. "Accidental." He tried to make it sound as though he believed it. "Only I got a reporter in the interview room, saying murder." "Reporter?" barked Topham nastily. "Saying murder? Not that Miss Dimont." "Nah," said Sergeant Gull. "This one's new. A kid." Topham's features turned to granite at the mention of the press. Though Temple Regis boasted only one newspaper, it somehow managed to cause a disproportionate amount of grief to those police officers seeking to uphold the law. Questions, always questions, whether it was a cycling without lights case or that unpleasant business with the curate of St. Cuthbert's. As for Miss Dimont, to Frank Topham's mind, and in the opinion of many other Temple Regents too, the local rag was there to report the facts, not to ask questions. So often the stories they printed showed a side to the town.